Yay. Oh, hi.
Hey. Welcome to What We Thought Would Happen.
I am Laura Kightlinger.
And I'm Daniel Webb.
I'm their love child.
And our love child, Wendy Liebman, is here.
Yay. I'm super excited.
I know. Daniel's been talking about this for months, and I'm too bitter to get crushes on people. But I do admire Wendy for being so funny and smart and such a great writer. Mm-hmm. And I would never talk about anybody with such love as Daniel has about you for the past fucking month.
I told
do you think
you.
We can get Wendy? Do you know Wendy? Yes, I know Wendy. I'm gonna ask Wendy.
We met in Austin. You performed at Cap City, but years ago, and I just started stand up, and it was a whole line of local comedians came out. We're like, I went after your show, but it was for 2 seconds.
Now it's coming back.
I took a very backlit selfie of us on a BlackBerry. That's how long ago this was.
I met somebody there, a writer who wanted to interview me, and he said that he was writing a story about a female comedian who became a grief counselor. And I actually think he made that up so he could just meet me.
What?
But we're
Sweet.
still friends. I really love him.
Nice.
But I have to tell you both that when you invited me to do this, I had an extra spring in my step.
Are you kidding?
I was so excited.
No.
Well, because I love Laura so much for so many years.
Thank you.
And I haven't seen you.
I know, and it's so weird. Now we have to, and I feel like I'm a bullshitter to say this, but we really have to stay in touch because there's no
bullshit.
Because of the. I know I'm bullshit. It sounds so insincere even as I'm saying it.
I know.
No, I mean, but even pandemic and all this. But I always get so happy when I see you, and I only see you if it's at a club.
If I could find my way back here, Laura, I would come back.
Right?
Jesus.
Oh my God.
It's a windy hill.
When we started doing stand-up in Boston, I would write down the directions on a napkin from lunch and have to find the gig. And I was always more nervous finding the place than I was actually performing.
Oh, sure.
And getting up here, I was like, thank God for GPS.
I never had a car in Boston, thank
Oh.
God. Now, you're from Long Island, so did you went to school in Boston, or you just went to Boston because you wanted to do stand-up
I
there?
went to school in Boston.
Oh, okay.
For what?
I was going to be a therapist. So I studied psychology. And then after college, I worked in a mental health hospital.
Wild.
And
Not a state school.
not a state school. And,
Where did you go?
well, I went to Wellesley.
Oh, okay, right. Okay.
But then I worked at Mass Mental Hospital.
Amazing.
And it was so depressing.
Oh, I'm sure.
And I was depressed. And then one day, I've told this story 1,000 times, but I took the mail in from the wrong apartment.
Mm-hmm.
And in it was a course catalog for the Cambridge Center for Adult Education. And in it was a class called How to Be a Stand-Up Comedian taught by Ron Lynch.
Wow.
Ron Lynch
Amazing.
has so many ties to so many comedians. Keep going. Sorry.
And I was like, I heard the angel singing when I read that.
Oh,
it was like, oh my
amazing.
God.
Mhm.
And I had seen Barry Crimmins perform once before I even had the thought to do stand-up myself. I saw him at Stitches and I was like, that looks like fun. He was on stage smoking a cigarette and I thought, oh, I want to do that. I was still
Get
a
paid
smoker,
to smoke.
right?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Oh, that's amazing.
So I saw this class and I took it. And I'm not really sure you can teach somebody how to be funny.
Because Wendy Liebman has a singular style, right? It's inimitable. No one else really does your version of stand-up, which I love.
Yeah.
Which is my favorite thing in comedy. But where does someone go in that moment? Who was making you laugh before you got the wrong person's mail to just
Interesting.
because I feel like from the jump you've been Wendy Liebman on stage, right? I don't see much of
When I first met Wendy, she was with a burlesque troupe. And it was I believe they called themselves the gals from Long Island or the Japs from Long Island. I can't remember what. But she was able to move the tassels in the same direction. That's how she first
clockwise and then counterclockwise.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm talented.
I know. And she's so young to be doing that.
No, you just need a psychology degree,
Yeah.
and then you can swing both ways.
I remember watching, well, you know who does burlesque now is Cindy Freeman.
Oh my God. That makes total sense. Is she out
This
here?
is an inside
I'm in.
joke. No, she lives in New York City
Uh-huh.
and she is a burlesque dancer.
That
She was
makes
somebody we started with.
Amazing.
Perfect sense.
I know. So I'm in college watching The Tonight Show on my little black and white TV, and there's Stephen Wright.
Oh, yeah.
And I think this is the funniest fucking thing I've ever seen in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was flying home to New York like the next weekend, and he was on the plane.
No.
Yes. And I
love
was
that.
like, I know that person. I know that person. It's Art Garfunkel. And I was going to say, and then I realized who it was. And I was going to say to him when he got off the plane, I think you're missing a buttonhole, because that was one of his jokes.
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
And he never got off the plane. And I'm like, where did he go?
Yeah.
And I've since met him through Ron. And I
Yeah.
know you know him too.
Yeah, I met him a couple of times, just meeting him at clubs and stuff in Boston, really briefly. That's-
Yeah, but you asked who I liked.
It
I
was
liked him. I
Stephen
liked Gary Shandling, David Letterman.
Yes. So, first of all, there's something weird that happens to your brain when you see a famous person. At least for me, is that I immediately think there's someone else, right? Because your brain is glitching.
Mm-hmm.
And I did it with a local weatherman. I called him the other local weatherman's name. Do you know what I mean? And there's only two people in that competition. So, like, how deep does that have to cut?
Yeah.
But okay, so what year did you...
You know, now I have to interrupt real quick. I wanted to say, like, how much it matters, like, someone that you see in college. Like, I remember seeing Roseanne on our crappy little TV, and it was also The Tonight Show. Seeing Roseanne for the first time doing
Wow.
stand-up, and I was like, damn, she's cool.
She was...
I remember
yeah.
that
I love her
set
set.
too.
Yeah.
Because when I was a kid in the 90s, because there was no internet, there was no YouTube. If you wanted to see something again, you had to like document it. So I would race to the VCR to get a tape to record Wendy or Margaret Cho, Jean Garofalo, like all these people I couldn't wait to see because you were always on Leno, Letterman. You were always on late night. You did Conan. I'm sorry, you did Carson.
Never did Conan.
But you were on Carson in more than once?
Just once.
In 91, right?
Still nervous.
So
Even now?
Thinking about it.
From like Stephen Wright watching in your dorm,
Right,
like
I know.
What was that time frame to where you're actually on Carson?
So that was probably 82 to 91. So it was 9 years.
I mean, that's a lucky streak. Not a lucky streak, but that's fast.
Yeah, that is. Wait,
Yeah.
and Wendy, you were on Letterman too, right? Did you do
I
Letterman?
did Letterman a couple of times.
God, I auditioned so many times. I auditioned so many times for Letterman. I have a file.
You seem like you would be perfect
I know,
for Letterman.
right?
What
Yeah.
They never let me on. I have Zoe Friedman passed me once, and then when the new guy came on, his name was Daniel Kellison. She had passed me or said, "Yeah, I could do it." And then when my manager checked up on it, she denied ever booking me, and he said, well, "Okay, well, send me the tape." And then my agent at that time sent the tape, and this guy Kellison and said, "Well, you know, this would be okay if a guy was doing it. It's just so
What?
bleak." Yeah.
What?
And then it was Eddie Brill. And I remember him saying, "Look, I'm so overbooked. I haven't even had a chance to get on the show." So finally I had a file that said sucking Eddie Brill's dick with all the, because I auditioned for Eddie Brill 3 more times.
And when you audition, you go in or you're just submitting your set?
Oh, no, you
You
go.
have to send a tape.
No, this was when I kept doing sets at like Stand Up New York
Comics.
and
And
stuff
just
like
to be
that.
seen for them.
Yeah.
So when you guys met was in Boston.
Yes. And I
Okay.
remember seeing you. Ron had a little club called Off the Wall.
I remember. I loved that.
I loved that too. It was
Yeah.
like at midnight.
Mm-hmm.
And I just remember I used to sell tickets for
Mhm.
him. And I remember this guy came in once and he was like, "Is this the movie theater?" And I said, "No, at night we do stand up."
Mhm.
And I go, "You could just go in." I didn't even charge him. And that guy was Louis C.K. And then he came back the next night for another show.
Uh-huh.
But anyway, yeah, that was such a weird time.
Yeah.
David Cross was around then.
Yeah.
And I never was part of any group. Like I didn't fit in anywhere. Now this is a confession.
But I mean,
Yeah.
because back then it's like there's no social media and it's like there, not to be like cliche, but there's not a lot of women doing stand up. And so much of stand up is the hang, which I hate. I want to do the set and run, right? I want to run screaming. So like, what is the road like for you? Because you're a club comic a lot back then and you tour a lot. I love the road.
Well, I didn't do it until I left Boston. I didn't
Okay.
do the road because I still had a day job. Like I did the Tonight Show and then I had to go home
Yeah.
and go back to my day job.
So talk about that, because the Tonight Show was always like a pivotal career maker, star maker, like romantically. But what is that like? You do it, you're like, this is it, right?
Well, I do remember flying home thinking I could die now and be okay.
Uh-huh.
But
Wait, so you went back to your job at or at the
by then I was just an administrative assistant somewhere.
okay.
So,
Okay.
but it was life-changing, but it wasn't life-changing. So
Yeah.
it could have been life-changing, but it wasn't completely. I mean, it got me an agent. I moved out to LA, but that's when I started going on the road. And the name of your podcast is
what we thought would
What
happen.
We Thought Would Happen. So I thought I was going to have a sitcom.
Yeah.
But apparently I'm not an actress. And
Why you say apparently?
well, I guess I've tried enough. It just never was. Although, you know how there are child actors? Maybe I'm an actress in her 60s.
See, that happens
So,
though. That's the thing.
Who knows? But I have no delusions or whatever.
Yeah. But back then, okay, so
You know, we
said-
talked about this too, about when we started this. We're 10 in, I think now.
somewhere.
But one of the first things we said on our thing about what we thought would happen was I remember going from Boston to New York and going to the Catch and seeing all of the comics on the wall. It was like Louis Anderson and Jay Leno and Richard Pryor. And I remember thinking, well, I better get used to it. I'll be on that wall too. And then I went on and ate it for about not even 5 minutes because the drop-in was Jerry Seinfeld, who went on for about 20. And then I had to go on after him. But also, one of the first times I knew that it was going to be a real uphill road was my friend Helene Lantry. Do you remember Helene?
Yeah.
Jeez.
And Dorothy Dwyer.
Yeah. She called me because I guess I don't know where I was. I was in New York or LA. She said, Laura, I feel kind of weird about this. I'm going up for a 7-Eleven commercial and they're asking for a Laura Kightlinger type. And at that point, I was probably like 28.
Oh my God.
That's insane.
Yeah. And of course, I wasn't up for it. And so I said, well, I'll ask my manager, see if I can go in. And my manager got me an audition. And then I went in and I didn't get it.
You lost the role of you
Yeah,
to someone else.
it was, to me, I thought it was really funny because she was like a British woman. Well, obviously, you're you, so you don't have to do the copy. Just tell us about yourself, and then we'll go from there. That's my shitty accent. And tell us about yourself, and we'll take it from there. So then I was taped talking about myself, and I think that's how I didn't get it.
Because you didn't do the copy. You weren't doing the
and I
lines.
was too much of me.
Well, we once had a sitcom called Wendy, and somebody else was cast as Wendy.
Shut
Oh,
up.
no.
So
This is awful.
But back in
I
the,
know.
especially like the early 90s, that was because of the Roseanne and like Bill Cosby template, right? It's sort of what like the Tim Allen, like, oh, stand-up comic gets sitcom. Like that was
Right.
something you could
Like
see.
Margaret.
Same with Margaret. And I feel like
Right.
her experience still is like a thing for her, right? I don't, not that she struggles with it, but it's still a moment, right?
Right.
People remember it because it didn't last.
But, you know, and I think, too, and I was saying this on the other thing, that male comics have such a long shelf life. They can have, like 3, you know, shitty shows and still have another show. Like, you know,
Right.
but I don't think women have that longevity. We're just not given that chance.
The opportunity. But were you in that pipeline? Were you angling for that?
I think
Was that
people
the
tried to
dream?
give me a sitcom, but as I said, it just never.
Well, just because of that
panned out.
one, so what?
Um.
Let's do one now.
Okay, let's
I'm
do
gonna
one
write-
now.
I'll write
Okay,
one.
like the Golden Girls.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, especially with a name like Wendy, it always has to be like it's Wendy or the
That's
Wendy
the name
Show.
of my new special.
It is,
It's
yeah.
Wendy.
See, I love that. See, it's like a
Oh,
good
that's
name.
awesome. When's your new special coming out?
We taped it. Actually, Eddie Brill coordinated like 12,
great.
12 comedians, and we taped it in New Jersey.
Yes.
Wow.
And yeah, of course, I didn't love it, but
Why taping so?
Was it an
crazy?
hour?
it was 45 minutes.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Why do you say you didn't
So,
love it? Taping such a head game is so stressful.
It was a rock and roll club.
Mm.
Anyway, it's going to be great.
Yeah.
But I really didn't know what to call it. I was going to call it like one of my jokes, which the punchline is lasagna straps. I know, like I should have called it that or Amazonesia. I should have called it like greatest bits or something, but everyone knows it's Wendy. That's what
great.
I like
Right.
that.
Anyway.
So the other comics, they all
So
did.
Tony V was one of them.
Oh, how
I
great.
didn't see him, but he was another comedian. who
So everybody
it.
did 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
Over a couple of weeks. It wasn't one night.
Oh, even better.
I'll send a tape to Eddie Brill, see if I can not get it.
Nah.
Probably can.
You should.
Fucking kidding.
You
I
should.
will not.
I think they're
No.
going to do it again.
No, I positively won't, but thank you.
Okay.
No.
All right.
I'm looking forward to it. So where is it going to be
Do
on?
you still not have a car?
HBO. No, I do have a car, Wendy. I do. In fact, just the other day, I hit Mark Ruffalo with it.
Oh, I heard that on the
Thank you.
podcast with Margaret.
Yeah.
On or off the
Oh
record,
my
there's a
God.
handprint on the car.
Seriously?
Which-
You should put that right next to John Heyman's head on the wall.
You should have it dusted.
I know.
You know, like a crime scene, how they dust
Now,
fingerprints and it shows up. Yeah, and then
Did
just
he
have
know
him
who
sign
you
it.
were?
No. I just think he saw my shocked face. And then...
Was he hurt?
No.
Okay.
Because he walked... He was just like...
Were you paying attention?
No, yes, I was. But here's the thing: I'm about 10 years behind on everything, and I was so excited about having my phone in
Getting
the
a
car
car.
on Waze, and yet not getting a car. I have had a car, if you don't mind. And I was looking out the window and trying to do exactly what the Waze person was telling me when she said it, and take a right on that. So I was about to. I stopped, but I was about to take a right without making sure I was looking left too. And they
Waze
were
was
smart.
gaslighting you.
I know. I think so. I think that if you don't do it now, it's never going to happen. Yeah.
I was hit by a car.
Oh my
What?
God! So I wanted to ask you about that.
Oh, okay.
When?
No,
Wait, your
please do.
body or your car?
I was hit.
You were
I
walking?
was walking across. I was on my treadmill. No, I was just doing
That came through the
material.
house?
Right. I was walking across Ventura
adventure.
Boulevard,
Oh my God! Oh my God!
going to lunch, and this woman didn't stop. She made a right, and she hit me. I had witnesses.
Uh-huh.
Nice.
But as I was being hit, I thought, I don't have time for this.
Wow.
This is gonna make me late for lunch.
I was like, maybe I should have just gotten up.
Oh my God!
But okay, so I was
got hit by a car.
I got hit by a
How
car.
fast was she going?
She was going pretty fast.
Yeah.
And the irony was she was a personal injury lawyer.
Oh wow!
So you hired her
So I hired her.
on the
Wow.
spot.
Okay.
On the spot.
Pretty amazing.
So anyway, not that I think everything happens for a reason. I'm not that kind of spiritual, although I am spiritual because the material thing didn't work out. But I did.
Wait, are you a life coach?
Now I am.
Right.
Starting right now. I do feel like I needed a break. And it was too long a break because,
Yeah.
okay, this is a terrible story.
Sure.
No.
But they put a rod in my leg.
Oh my God.
But when they put it in,
Yes.
they rotated my foot. So I looked like a duck. Like this one
Yes.
foot was pointing out like its second position.
And this was an accident?
Yeah, this is an accident.
A side effect, they would call it.
Yeah, a side effect of
Fuck.
because the doctor was an arm doctor, but he was on
Oh, geez.
but he was
This
on
is
call.
terrible.
He was on call.
You're lucky you don't have fingers
I
coming
know.
out of your ankle.
Well, my husband said I could only swim in a circle. But so they had to re-break my leg.
Holy-
and I think it was Kevin Nealon.
Did they get
who
the same
said-
lady to run you
Yeah,
over?
that's
Yeah,
what
yeah.
Kevin Nealon
Shut
said.
up, what?
Was, did they have to have her hit you again?
Oh yeah.
So in the
up.
end, they gave me like money.
Yeah.
So so then
So you walk across Ventura every day.
yeah, no, there were times during COVID I was like, thank God I got hit by a car. 'cause I-
Wait a second, Wendy. So the personal injury lawyer, did she admit that she?
Good question. Yeah. How did she perform in litigation?
So we didn't go to trial,
Yeah.
but we were both deposed.
Mm-hmm.
I never met her. My husband saw a picture of her, but I never knew what she looked like.
Okay, wait, really fast.
Okay, yeah.
So you're hit by a car.
Right.
What happens? You're on the ground, you're unconscious. Like, what happened?
So I'm on the ground. I'm not unconscious. But there was a guy walking towards me.
Was it Mark
at
Ruffalo?
this- What?
Was it Mark Ruffalo? So wait, I'm sorry.
Mark Ruffalo.
Yeah.
And I remember looking up at him and saying, we had the light, right? And he goes, oh, yeah. Because he was halfway in the street, too.
Ah.
So meanwhile, she claimed that my friend picked me up out of the street and put me in the crosswalk. She said I was out of the crosswalk.
Whoa.
That was her claim. But I was like, I wasn't with a friend.
Yeah.
And can I just tell you, I thank whoever, whatever, that I wasn't on my phone. My phone was in my purse.
Because then you would have been a distracted
Right.
walker.
Then they would have said,
Well, and she said she said you were moved, quote unquote,
Right.
because if you're out of the crosswalk, it's anyone's game.
Exactly.
And if you're in the crosswalk, she's in trouble.
right. But I had two witnesses
Uh-huh.
and they both corroborated.
You had a-
And,
Yeah, and she's accusing you of having two like vaudeville stuntmen like come and lift your body with two planks of wood and come set you down
They
and then
had
run
a
off.
sedan chair.
Yeah, exactly. They had someone on a upright piano play Ricky Tick while the whole thing went down. I was in the Ralph's in East Hollywood, which is a shitstorm every time you go. The toothpaste is locked up. Hollywood and Western. Like nothing. You have to ring a bell to get
Oh my
toothpaste.
God, the
Yes.
toothpaste is locked up.
Everything's behind glass.
They
I'm trying
lock up razors.
Yeah, but they...
And
I'm trying to think
deodorant.
what do they
Mhm.
cut toothpaste with? I mean, what drugs are,
I asked them once, I was like, do y'all have like travel size stuff? And the person goes, oh no. Because too, you can put them in
They
your
just
pockets and
steal
run.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a theft combatant. But-
I see.
And so I was there and they'd rearranged the store, which is like moving a dog's water dish, right? Nobody knows where they are. Nobody knows where they are. And so I'm trying to find something, and there's this lady on the floor down at the end of an aisle, right? And then there's another lady in between us shopping. And so I just say out loud, I go, is anybody helping that lady? And then the person shopping just looks at me and continues like perusing. So I run up and the lady's clearly having a seizure. She's on the floor.
God.
Yes. And so, and I can see what's the thing if you need that's like surgically attached to you?
It's a colonoscopy.
No,
pad?
like if
a
you need your-
diabetes.
Yeah, that thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whatever. I can see that because her shirt's coming up and she's like having a moment. So I was like, I'm calling 911 right now. I tell her that I'm like, my name's Daniel. I'm not a professional, but I'm calling 911 for help. Because I was told if you tell someone having an emergency that help is on the way, their body and their mind
Oh,
will
wow.
relax.
Oh,
That's
that's
brilliant.
nice.
You have to establish that you're either someone who can help them, like I'm a doctor, or just that you're helping get the situation under control.
Hilarious and informational.
You try.
That's him.
But this lady's
Garrett
flopping
should
around
say
on the
that to me
floor.
before sex. Help is on the way. I'm a wreck. Okay, go ahead.
She starts kind of coming out of the seizure, but she starts saying juice, right? So then I leave and run and get a Capri Sun, right? And I just start like smashing him open and like feeding him to her, and she starts like coming back to life slowly.
Wow.
And now the Ralph's employees are coming around, but they're looking at us like we've made a mess of juice on the floor, right?
Oh.
And so they're not happy with us. And she's kind of breathing heavy. And she shows up and she finally comes to life. She goes, they switched juice aisles. And she couldn't find it in time because she was having a moment, right?
Oh, because you needed the sugar.
Right. So the Ralph's people are looking at her like she's made a mess. The EMTs show up
Oh,
and they're
God.
like looking at both of us, like, what's the problem? I'm like, she's having a seizure. And one of the EMTs was super hot. And I look at him, I go, I'm just waiting for hot EMTs. And nobody laughed. Nobody
They're
laughed.
always gorgeous.
And I looked at the girl.
I know,
the
they
EMTs.
are.
Oh my God. Go
I
ahead.
looked at the lady. I should probably go. She goes, thank you for your help. I go, Shannon. She goes, Megan. I was like, oh, fuck. Bye. But it was one of those things. It was like
Oh
nobody
my
was
God,
helping
you
this
saved her
woman.
life.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think she, the security camera, someone would
They
have
should
seen
not
her.
change the supermarket.
She was having a
There's
medical
like
emergency.
a 6-cart pileup in bakery.
Yeah, terrible.
Because everybody's looking for candy.
Yeah,
I think it's ridiculous they named a supermarket Ralph's because to Ralph is
Is
like
Yeah.
To retch, right?
throw up.
Yeah.
There was before Post-it, or like before Uber Eats and all that was like a thing in Austin, there was a company called Eat Out. And I was like, who the fuck?
fantastic.
I was like, who, what? And it was a woman-owned company.
There we go.
I was like, what sick joke is it? Where the first
Eat
thing
Out,
you eat is
start
like,
here.
yeah, let's go eat out. Yeah, call me.
Wait, now, Wendy, I have to ask you.
Yes.
Okay. So you've been married for almost 20 years?
Yeah, 20 something.
And do you have stepkids?
I have 2 stepsons.
Oh, okay.
And I've had them since they were 4 and 8.
Oh, geez.
and now they're 27 and 32, if my math is right. And one of them just moved out today.
Oh, fantastic.
Today?
I mean, he's been living with somebody and then he moved back home for a little while and he just moved to Hollywood today.
Oh.
So, and he's a musician and he's like my heart and he's a beautiful musician. And then my other stepson lives in Brooklyn and he works at Google and he's polyamorous and a fashionista.
Hell yeah.
Fantastic.
What was like stepmom like? Was that like
well,
4 and 8?
Cinderella ruined it for everybody.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Like,
Put a bad spin on it.
yeah, but so it's all the authority and none of the, what's the word?
Appreciation?
None of the appreciation, none of, no authority.
Oh.
All the responsibility,
And
no authority.
Right. You're just
so,
you have the authority of a babysitter, right?
Right.
It's like
exactly.
it's temporary. Like come 10 p.m., you're not in charge anymore.
Even though they lived with us 90% of the time. But no, I'm just joking. They're beautiful young men. I can't believe I didn't fuck them up.
That's so funny.
Totally.
I was going to say, I have a young husband, and that's like having a stepson because you're kind of attracted to him, but
Oh my God.
you know that he's a pain in the ass. And he's
still have
not
to
going to
wipe his
listen to you.
mouth.
Yeah.
He's adorable. What did you say?
I still have to wipe his mouth. Yeah, brush his teeth.
Yeah.
How much younger is he?
He's 12 years younger, but he's not. He also, we get in fights because I want him to buy new clothes, and I'm always buying shit online. And we had a little bit of an argument today, and I found myself saying, would you buy some cotton shirts from the Gap, some short sleeve shirts? Just buy some goddamn fucking short sleeve shirts. I can't stand it because he won't let me. I'll buy him stuff he hates, and that's why he kind of feels like a son to me.
That's very triggering to me,
interesting.
though, because I always had that was like always the argument with like me and my mom. One time we had to go. My mom, it was like her menopause and what I was wearing to Easter Sunday service, like fucking had a head-on collision. And it's why I don't think she remembers the episode, right? It was this rage-filled, crazy thing.
That's so
where it's like
funny.
Saturday night before church, and like now she's like, "What are you wearing?" I was like, "I don't care." And suddenly now the whole family's in the car going to the mall, 8:45. And I don't know how this happened. We're at like Mervyn's, right? We're at the fucking store, and I buy these brown pants, and we get home, and something about the mall light and real light is when we get home, those pants are they're green. There's no brown anywhere near them.
Yeah.
And so the whole thing is, my mom's like, "Try these on." And when we pull them out, we both look, and we can't even begin to understand the mystery of how they change colors, like what happened. And that was just it. She just put them up in a bag, didn't say a word. I left, and the next morning I woke up without an alarm at like 11:30, and I got up, and just my dad was awake and goes, "Yeah, we're not going to church today." It was like this huge thing.
Relief.
But it was all because of what my mom was telling me to wear.
Wait, you said you didn't wake up without an alarm? Is that?
As in, like, they didn't wake us up for church.
Oh,
because
you didn't
church was canceled. Yeah,
But you didn't have because
you didn't have the pants.
Yeah.
the pants shut it down.
Oh, because see, I thought that maybe you'd have to wear them anyway.
No, it was too much for her to handle. So then the whole holiday was canceled.
Oh, fantastic.
Which was very unlike
Green
her.
pants on Easter.
It's not.
I don't know the etiquette. But my sister's husband is 14 years younger than she is.
Okay.
And it's her second marriage. And they've been together 20 years.
That's
So,
nice.
Take it and run.
Yeah.
First marriage with kids.
First marriage with kids.
That's the whole boat. That's crazy.
Yeah. No, this is her second marriage.
No, you.
Oh, this is my first marriage.
Okay, yeah.
I always had a boyfriend or a girlfriend. I was never alone, but I never wanted to get married.
Yeah.
So
You always had a boyfriend or a girlfriend, meaning you were bi?
Yeah.
Jeez, I didn't know that. I should have been hitting this shit.
I just see. Those were the days.
No, I always say that I'm not bi because I can't imagine the thought of disappointing another woman besides my mother. But,
Was
I
that
love
anything
that.
you ever talked about on stage?
No, and I wasn't really a good lesbian. Like I always felt like the guy, like I didn't know what to do. So
I mean, I feel that way now.
Yes.
Like you can't do anything right. I mean, that's so funny.
but I love your joke.
No, but Garrett said that we're the same guy. Me and Garrett.
Really?
Like, yeah, like we have the same.
You
arms
piss on
and
the same
legs.
spot? Is
Yeah,
that it?
No, just I don't know.
Are you bi?
No.
Oh.
She just.
I'm
You
not-
weren't
no.
really going to hit on me?
No,
No, I probably would have. I
Laura's
think you're
just
beautiful. I would
opportunistic.
have.
She's not
I
bisexual.
wish
She's
I would have known.
opportunistic.
I wish
Oh my
back then. You know.
I don't think I was back then.
Oh, okay.
Did you back then?
I just loved who I loved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just loved, and they happened to be female.
Yeah.
So-
That's how I feel like when people go, that people are so like awful and, bigoted. It's like, how do you know what form the love
Anything
of your
is.
life is going to be
Yeah.
in? It could be a guy, it could be
could be Monty.
Well, I know that for sure.
I appreciate like
Monty's her dog.
Yeah.
There's-
no, I was just going to say, like, when people say, are you a top or a bottom? I always say, I'm a side because I'm not going to move the dog. I'm sorry, Daniel. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Ever since I started
bits.
driving a truck, I'm a top just by default.
Okay.
Because you have to help people move so much shit. So it's like, I'll just do the work anyway, right? As long as I'm doing everything, I may as well top. But I recognize or appreciate being able to recognize yourself in labels, especially now there's a zillion pronouns and stuff like that, which is good for the community and conversation. But I'm also 41, so I'm of the day where you had to come out as something, right?
Right.
And which was only gay or lesbian, especially back in like the 90s or before. Like bisexual, you were a liar, you know, or like, you know what I mean?
Like couldn't make up your mind.
You were a middle ground. So,
Right. There was no fluidity.
yeah, but there was a little freedom in that. Somewhere in there, you could blur the lines. You know what I mean? I guess it's a little closeted, but it was like you could be more experimental because people thought if you were a woman sleeping with women, you were experimenting.
Right.
There wasn't like a claim to a lifestyle.
I just remember going to a show. It was upstairs from the Comedy Connection. There was a theater, and it was 3 funny gay males. And this was in like 1989. And it was taboo. Like it was like Jaffe Cohen and Bob Smith. And it was just like taboo. Like we all snuck it. Like it felt like we were going to a speakeasy.
Yeah. Underground.
Yeah. But now it's everywhere.
Yeah.
It seems like, I mean, to me, you've always worked a lot, even from the start. Like, I don't know, I felt like I spent a lot of time, you know, after I graduated from Emerson, I stayed in Boston for a while. And it took me so long to pass at these places. Like, I don't know, but...
Yeah. Like, after you took
Like
Ron
that's-
Lynch's
like
class, what did, how does Wendy Liebman get to the Tonight
Well, I mean, I didn't
Show?
even know there was another room above Comedy Connection because I couldn't get into the ground floor of Comedy Connection.
Well, it wasn't. Oh, maybe it was downstairs. I don't know. It just was near there. I just remember sneaking in.
Did you ever run home through the combat zone?
No.
What is that?
But it was scary though.
Yeah, it was, but I...
Wait,
you know,
what's
I
the
didn't
combat zone?
Oh, if you were doing
The
stand-up in
red
Boston...
light
Yeah.
district.
Yeah, you didn't want to go through the combat zone, but I never had money for a taxi or anything. And then sometimes
Laura never was in a car when when was the first time you were in a car, Laura?
Daniel, I was
Where did you
born
live?
without the use of a car. Okay,
Where did you live in Boston?
in Alston.
Me too. Brighton.
Yeah.
I lived in Brighton.
But I really wasn't there long enough to get a car. I mean, I went to school, and so I always took the T everywhere.
Right.
And then I didn't really do any, gigs outside of Boston very often. And if I did, someone else drove. So, yeah.
The designated
Yeah.
driver.
Yeah.
How did you end up in Boston?
I went to school there, went to Emerson.
But is that where you started stand-up? Was
Yeah.
there?
Yeah.
Not
I did
in
my
New
like my
York.
last year. It was like my last year in college. I did it for a comedy troupe thing. I was in a comedy troupe called This Is Pathetic. And then I did, yeah. My love of my life, Joe Murphy, started the comedy troupe. And then this other guy who now teaches at Emerson, Mike Bent, he was doing stand-up. So then I started going around with him a little. So that was the first
You know
time.
who else went there?
Who?
Eddie Brill.
Let's get him on the phone. Text him right now.
And Stephen Wright and
Yeah.
Jay Leno
And Jay Leno, who I saw Saturday night.
at Comedy
Flappers.
Magic.
Yeah.
Flappers. So are you performing there?
Yeah, a little bit. I've been doing a couple of drop-in spots.
Will you do
and stuff.
my show?
Oh, I
there?
would love to.
Okay.
Yeah,
Locally
Yes.
grown comedy?
Yes.
Okay.
So
And you too.
Like you've done all the late night stuff, like especially like Leno, I think calls you like a kind of a comedian's comedian. Like you, Kathleen Madigan. It's like the ones.
She's great.
But
She
yeah.
is what I'd call a road warrior,
Yes.
Kathleen.
She's so great.
I think
She's
she-
so good. But
I think she's put herself into like St. Louis adjacent just so she can hit.
yeah,
like,
she's
tour.
like 300 days out of the year.
But I love
basically.
it.
I feel like I fell between the cracks
How?
Yeah.
because I was a road comic, but then it's too exhausting.
Mhm.
And then I
Yeah.
started being a stepmom and I didn't want to go away. And
Mhm.
so and then I was hit by a car and
Yeah.
then COVID. And so it's like, I'm just now going out again,
Yeah.
getting a few corporate gigs. I did a bra convention recently.
What?
Fantastic.
What is that like?
I
300 women, 4 men. It was pretty
That's
awesome.
Okay, yeah.
amazing.
Those are not the stats I
Yeah.
thought that they were going to be.
It was pretty
those pay
amazing.
well, I would think.
Yeah,
The
corporate gig,
thing.
yeah.
I don't think I've ever had a corporate gig, but I have
Really?
the same. No, and I have.
What kind of bra do you wear?
You know what? I'm not wearing a bra.
So that's the
Oh,
problem,
God, you
Laura.
see,
We got to get you in
The
this-
one good thing
And
is
the-
that about
But
having to wear a bra.
no, I mean, I feel the same kind of like I had a brain aneurysm almost 3 years ago.
I heard
Yeah.
that on your podcast.
And so I feel like I'm just kind of, and because of the pandemic and everything, I feel like I'm kind of just starting again, like starting anew, seeing if I can remember anything on stage and all that stuff.
Like, I covet both of your careers.
Shut
What are you talking
up.
about?
Laura, because you're a writer, you wrote on sitcoms. I don't know if you're doing that now. That to me is like a dream because I'm so funny in the room, but I've never been given the opportunity. So
Well, that's crazy.
like,
I will help you if
Okay,
you do. You have
all right.
all you know.
what,
if you,
do I need a spec script?
Yes, I'm going to help you do that. Wendy, that's the first thing out of my mouth. But those are so easy. If it's a show that you like, find a show that you like, and then just write an episode.
All right.
If you know me, and I'm hired probably once every 8 years, I can hand it to somebody.
I know,
and
but
say,
I wouldn't wanna,
Wendy
like-
has to be in the room with us.
Yeah.
I'll just do it for free. Like that's how much.
I just was on a show before the strike, and there were 2 women and 5 men, and it's always kind of that like uneven dynamic. But I think there should be. Why isn't it half and half? There should definitely be more women.
Yeah.
You know.
But wait, let's talk about that for a second because you say stand-up in particular, I think being in entertainment is a heat-based, right? You need momentum, all that bullshit to keep a career going. I myself feel like in COVID, right? Like I was touring and I was, I'm a live performer mostly. So it was like,
I saw you
there
do
goes.
it outside with cars honking.
Traumatic.
At
I know, traumatic. It's like that. You think you've been
Like, what if
heckled
they
when
don't
cars
honk?
You feel nothing, right? The way I prepared for that was honestly, I was like, just imagine you're all alone because that's how it truly felt on stage because you can't even hear anybody. But we were already supposed to do a special and then COVID hit. So that was their kind of improvisation to still keep something going. So anyway, it was all experimental. Who cares? The falling between the cracks and between you being a stand-up and like you just said, you're funny in the room. Were those jobs you were wanting to get when you moved to LA?
Kind of, yeah.
Or was
But
it
I
just
just
anything?
didn't know the path.
The
See,
landscape.
I'm really glad that you mentioned it
Yeah.
because
Oh.
I had no idea. Like,
Oh.
why? I will do whatever
Jim
I can
Rowley
do.
always says that I'm funny in the room, but
Yeah,
I know,
you
but
are,
Jim,
though.
who I love,
Yeah.
Jim, I think like he's the reason I think I kept my last job because like I'd say something and they, everybody would, kind of go, well, I don't know if a kid would say that, and Jim would kind of expound on it, and then it wound up getting in. But I think between me and Jim, we can help you get a writing job
Okay.
on something
Yeah.
if you
All
want.
right.
Well, but here's
Especially to do punch up and stuff on that.
okay.
Go
But
on.
I mean, this doesn't have to be about me. This whole podcast.
Oh, it
Yes,
But-
it is.
But,
No, it is,
But
yeah.
I covet your career as
stop.
well because you're on the road with Margaret Show.
Lucky
okay?
duck.
So
I'm a lucky duck.
I recently got to open for David Spade a couple of times.
Yes.
And it was my favorite job in the world.
Really?
Because
It's a blessed thing.
it's not like I'm not responsible for getting the audience.
Oh, that's a good.
I just have to do my
Yeah.
20 minutes
Mhm.
and they don't know me from
Mhm.
Adam and I'm like entertaining.
Is it
Mhm,
strange
yeah.
that you're so much funnier than he is, though? Does that make it weird
Honestly,
for him?
he's the funniest, nicest. I don't know. If
I
you
know him
probably
from
know
SNL.
Mhm.
No, I know he's funny.
He was so nice.
You're undervaluing yourself because
Okay.
you've been
Yeah.
a working comedian for a long time, and I feel like since you started, it's like on all your late night you get applause breaks, which I think is like several of them, like Carson, Letterman, all of them, because people I think really enjoy your type of humor.
But don't
We
you
should be
watch
opening-
yourself?
For you.
Don't you watch yourself and go, "That was a different lifetime."
Oh yeah, that
Sure.
I mean, now it's like I'm plugging myself, but one of the things I wrote a book 20 years ago called Quick Shots of False Hope, and it was 100% because I was sitting with my friend Nancy Shane in her apartment on the Upper West Side, and I saw my face on like a HBO half hour. I remembered everything about like my manager and everybody said, have more energy and, be more, and I just looked like I was so eager to please. And then, and just what I thought like, okay, I'm going to do it. And then this will be it. I remember like how, just my stupid face and how hopeful I was.
Yeah.
Like, and all these things that came up were like, I call it like a quick shot of false hope because it didn't lead to anything.
Yeah.
And then there'd be some other things. And I was like, oh, I remember really hoping that would be it. And this would be it. And it's never it.
But
Yeah.
I think it's all cumulative.
Yes.
Like I feel like friendships I've made, I feel like this is your life, but
Mhm.
I feel like it's all cumulative.
That it helps. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I like that, even though that sounds like it's not really rooted in anything. It sounds kind of like a shallow excuse, Wendy. But I think. No, here's what I like. I love you. No, honestly, though, if you think about it, you and me and Daniel, we're people who care about material. So
Yeah.
if it's a cumulative thing, you learn more, you have more material, there's more to say, your point of view gets more specific as you
Right.
keep
Right.
going.
Right.
Joan
Yeah.
Rivers said, especially just with material, but I think she looked at her career like that too. It's a tapestry.
Oh.
And you just keep adding to it, right?
Oh.
Because I saw her, I say this all the time, but it was like the last time I saw her was right before she passed away. It was the third time I'd seen her, and I know her material left, right, and center. And it was like she told a joke and the whole theater went nuts. They fell out of their seats. But I knew that Elizabeth Taylor joke was 40 years old, right? And it still worked. That was the thing. And it's like, you're such a comedian. And like Laura just said, I think you really care about material. You've been on television so many times that you just recorded a 45-minute special.
And you're prolific. You're
really
you write
a writer.
all the time.
Because your jokes aren't just riffing either. Your jokes are a very concentrated setup with a punchline, and then there's always a follow-up punchline as you move, which is almost a transition to the next joke. Like your style is so particular that you're such a writer. It's interesting to hear you.
Well, we're here with the art of Wendy Liebman.
All I can say is that one of the women who saw me at the Bra Convention wrote to me and said she Googled my sets and she's been watching them. And I'm thinking, oh, shit, I did that joke in 1991.
Oh, seriously? Oh.
But I think it's like, I'm not saying I'm Bruce Springsteen, but he still fucking sings Born to Run.
Yeah. You're right. That is so unfair. That is really true. Like, why can't we do our fucking greatest hits? So, I did a set and said to me after this set, and I was kind of like struggling a little. I was at the Satellite, which is a kind of a rock club, and this is right before the pandemic. So he said, "You did that joke 30 years ago." He said,
"No."
And what it was, and I was like, "Why did that joke stay in your mind?" I had this joke about how I never had anal sex and why I won't, and I said, "Well, if you're in your job, you don't want to not get the promotion. So if your boss says, 'Do you like anal sex?' You say, 'No, it's not that I don't like it or don't want it. It's just that it's haunted. Somebody went back there. They tried. There's nothing left but chipped tooth and a bloody eyeball or whatever.' So I said my ass is haunted.
Did it work?
Yes, it did.
Done. The question answered.
But it's true. Why can't we do a greatest hits show, or we do the Elton John and do a farewell tour so that everybody comes, even though you've been doing your fucking farewell for 10
forever.
years.
I know. Yeah, he shared
like a trick candle.
I know. Yes, like get out, go already.
Oprah, who was full of great advice, one of the things was how to host a party. And then one thing she said was right before when the doorbell rings of the first guest, she downs a martini.
Really?
Slams it.
That's
and then
sweet.
I think she coasts on that for a while. But yeah, right before the first, that way you're in the right headspace or atmosphere or whatever.
It's very party.
Well, it's very,
party-ish.
I thought it was more fun than I thought Oprah would be.
That's smart though, too, because you're so stressed from running around getting things together, whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
When you're a billionaire, you don't actually have to do anything. You're so stressed from telling people what to do, the maids, that you have to have a drink.
You're just in Mendocino. You don't know what acre you're on.
You don't need to drink it. They just inject it.
You pay someone to inject it in you. Yeah, so you can just stay in bed all day.
When this becomes a popular podcast, I want to be able to offer IVs in case it goes like more than an hour or more
or
than
a
20
martini.
minutes.
Yeah.
Already mentioned a bunch of people that you've worked with, and I feel like your career like spans a lot of different. Like you've been on lots of television shows. Are there famous people you meet that you're excited to meet or intimidated by, or like comedians you were excited to work with? Because when I said Carson, you're like, I'm still nervous.
Well, just because I remember walking out to the stage and just going, what the fuck? And I once read that Whoopi Goldberg's, every time she goes out, I don't know if this is still true, but she said she always says to herself, why didn't I just become a kindergarten teacher? Like at that point. So, and I often wonder like why I didn't become just like a really funny advertising executive or a funny kindergarten teacher.
Right.
One of my best friends is funny every second, and yet she's a mom and doesn't, she doesn't need to be in front of people.
Best friend Maggie could write a zillion books, right? And she was just in town visiting, and I forget how funny she is until every time I see her. And I'm like, she's a mom looking for stuff to do. I'm like, you should do stand up, and she can't even begin to process like the thing. I'm like, but you already have it. Like,
well, like my husband is so nervous, but he's so funny, but he would never get on stage. So he gives me jokes.
What does he do?
He's a writer. He wrote on a sitcom called Boy Meets World.
Oh, great. Okay.
And he has written a few movies, and he did a documentary about his family. His father and his uncle wrote a lot of the music for Disney in the 60s. Like they wrote Mary Poppins.
Oh my God.
And Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, which isn't Disney, but they
Uh-huh.
wrote like the Jungle Book, the music.
That's
what
amazing.
the fuck? Are you serious?
The music.
The Jungle Book
Yeah.
music is iconic.
And
That's
like
legendary.
they wrote the song "It's a Small World."
Shut
Ah,
up.
are you kidding? That's incredible. Well, how old was he when he realized that his dad was?
I think in his 40s.
Oh my
Insane.
So he and his cousin did a documentary about their fathers.
That's
Mhm.
amazing.
Because they wrote together for 50 years and they didn't really get along.
Oh, wow.
So
They were the Fleetwood Mac of Disney.
Yeah, pretty much.
Uh-huh.
So
That's
they were
amazing.
the only songwriters ever hired by Disney. So
Crazy.
anyway, the documentary is called The Boys, the Sherman Brothers story.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I went to Disney World with my nieces, and one of them has a medical condition, but luckily that you can jump the line sometimes if you have that,
yeah.
right? But not
Right.
all the lines, right?
Right.
But mostly all the little kid ones because you can't stand in line with everybody else. So they were lucky enough, I guess, with her disadvantage to be able to jump the lines, except for iconic ones like It's a Small World, where frankly
Right.
the line was flying. It had been like 9 minutes, but
Wow.
the niece who got us the skip in the first place were waiting in line with everybody else.
That would be great. If your Make-A-Wish Foundation said, well, okay, you didn't ask to stand in line all day. We realize that when you want to just get on the rides. But hey, we can't do everything for you.
Right.
Well, we've done enough.
It was
You're
the-
in this funding.
When we're with the common people in It's a Small World, she looks at us, she goes, "Oh, what is taking so long?" I was like, "It's been 9 minutes."
my
You know, a little
God.
bitch. Like,
You
get
have no
yourself-
idea.
Yeah, what real people go
My
through.
mom, one of the things that she still says, which I'm kind of embarrassed about, but this how else would I ever bring this up? She said when I was like 6 or 7, she was in the bathtub and I walk in and I guess, I don't know if it's because I was watching and I pointed at her boobs and I said, "Titty, titty, bang, bang." And she forever, it doesn't matter what I write or what I do, that's only going to be the funny
Oh
thing
my
that
God.
That's
I
the
ever
funniest
do.
thing you've ever
Well, there's
done.
some recording of that song in Japanese, and they say "shitty, shitty bang."
Oh, that
hell
would make
yes.
sense. Yeah.
I love that. Do you remember there was an anti-gay that one of the Teletubby toys you'd squeeze
Oh,
it and it
yeah.
sounded like it said faggot.
Oh,
It was
Really?
yes, and you can look it up on YouTube now because
Okay.
my friend had the Teletubby. You'd squeeze it, and go hi, and you squeeze it, and go goodbye, and then the third one would go faggot, faggot. Like yes,
Oh.
it's too.
that's not Disney though.
well, yeah, no,
But it's still cute.
still-
and,
yeah.
Oh, so that's what my husband is doing. But right now, he's been working with some of the cops who defended the Capitol on January 6th.
really?
It's just like
What?
this weird connection.
Wow.
And anyway, so he's helping one of them build a community center. So my husband
Oh,
is
that's nice.
he's busy.
One of those I read in the news today. I hadn't read the news in like a week, but someone was sentenced. One of those psychos was sentenced for it's beating a cop with a flagpole.
Yeah.
Oh
for
my
he was
God.
sentenced to 4
Right.
years
I
today.
think it was one of them.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah.
And it's like you gotta like the perspective of like let's just put those words out there. You psycho. Sorry, I'm a very political person. Like, you psycho MAGA shitheads. When one of your people beat a cop with a fucking flagpole, like how many metaphors,
I
euphemisms,
know.
analogies do we
You're,
need
like,
for that?
Traumatized.
Yeah.
Anyway,
People, yeah,
So
it's
my
crazy.
husband's a good guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't believe he likes me.
No. Because the way I knew you was your late night appearances, which I feel like are numerous, right? Like you did Letterman several times, you did Leno several times, obviously Carson. Does that become blasé at a certain point? Are you always nervous when you go on late night?
Not
Well,
blasé, but it's really weird because somebody told me I did 10 Lettermans.
you were on all the time.
And
Now
I
I'm
don't-
beyond jealous
no,
now.
she was
I
on
don't
all the time.
remember more than 2 of them.
Really?
Wow.
So, and
That's
you know,
great.
it's weird because
Mhm.
you obsess at the time, but
So you don't even have to audition after the second one, right? Or do you have to show them
I had
what
to
set
show-
you're
I
going
had
to
to
do?
show them the set.
You just sent in a tape, or
I don't remember.
Oh, okay.
I think I sent like a Word document or something. I don't remember now.
Oh,
But,
okay, so it was no big
but
deal.
I
Not
haven't-
like it was for me trying like for 8 to 10 years trying to get my fucking ass in there.
But I
Uh-huh.
haven't been on late night in years.
It's
did.
so different now. It's very different.
I
trying
think
to
I
get
would be
on.
too nervous.
I think you should host a late night show.
Thank you. I
Yeah.
wanted to do a late night show called Midnight Snack.
Yes.
Nice.
Right? Just have one
Yes.
guest.
And you know what? How come
Yes.
there aren't any women on TV after 9 p.m.? I'd like to
Fuck
know.
why? try.
You know?
Yeah.
There should be.
Yeah.
I mean, I love the Samantha Bee show, and that's gone.
So
I guess
smart.
Chelsea had it for a minute.
Yeah.
So
So there are
that
no
was
women.
cable.
I think this is part of my Republican conspiracy that now women can't even be seen after 9 o'clock on TV.
But it was because I
You know,
love
I mean, what the
Without,
fuck?
and they can't bear arms.
Right. Exactly.
So
Exactly.
what's your like? Are you like a Charlie Rose? Are you like a Tom Snyder? Like what kind of
I
a
guess,
single
like,
guest?
or Alan Havey had a talk show
Oh.
once where there was just one person in the audience.
Oh.
I love that.
So-
All right. Let's work on Midnight
Midnight
Snack.
Snack.
We have to get
Snack.
Wendy out
I'll
there.
be a
Okay.
showrunner.
For
All
God's
right,
sakes.
let's do it.
So-
Because I think I could get on that show. I know somebody.
So, like something like America's Got Talent in comparison to like a late night set, right? Because it's a different.
Holy shit, you
animal.
did that too, Wendy?
I did.
I didn't know that. I
Okay,
didn't know that. When did you do it?
Okay, so I was hit by the car in 2018, but in 2013, my husband and I were hit by a drunk driver.
Jeez.
I know.
this is
Don't
awful.
hang out with me.
God
Do not hang out with me.
We're on the second
So,
floor, and I don't feel safe. What
and
the
this
fuck?
was also on Ventura Boulevard.
Terrible.
And it was a 7-car.
Fuck.
Like 7
Wow.
cars were total. We were all at a stoplight, and this guy comes barreling down at 92 miles, and the woman in the car next to us died.
Oh my god! Oh my
no.
god!
So
oh my god,
we
oh my
were
god.
like so close.
Uh-huh.
And both Jeff and I were, my husband and I were like, what the, like shaken up for years.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
And so I remember sitting on the side of the road on a bus bench going, I have to start doing comedy full time again, get myself out there. It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
not enough to do what I've been doing. So
Totally.
I auditioned for America's Got Talent.
Amazing.
That was
Wow.
my long way.
That's what it
of
took.
saying- That's what it took. It took a car accident. Nobody was hurt in that.
Uh-huh.
And the
except-
American
Except the
Got
lady.
Talent.
Wow.
Well, I don't know. At least that remains to be seen, Wendy.
Oh my
So wait a
God.
second. So you did that same year, 2013?
2014.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But that
So,
fast. Wow.
And well, what
I
was
think
that?
I'm going to
one?
have to sage you before you go.
I know.
I think you're gonna have
Because
to.
I'm
Just-
a little concerned.
I don't know, sage you,
I
but
know.
bubble wrap you for sure.
Oh, yeah.
For
But-
sure. I'm
but-
scared to leave the house. It's amazing I'm even here.
We got you south of Ventura. The question was, how much does, I guess, preparing or stressing for something like America's Got Talent versus like a late night gig, or even in just perspective, you're trying to get like you want to start doing stand up full time again. Is there different pressure, more pressure?
Honestly, like the more I do it, I don't know if you feel this way too. The more I do it, the more it seems important.
Oh,
Because even though I've done it so much and I have that experience behind me and I could say, oh, I did it already, I could do it again. It's like each time I do it now, it's more important.
I never tell people I'm a stand up. I'll say writer at the moment if it's like a stranger, because the minute you say you're a stand up,
Oh, I know.
people talk to you different
I know.
in the worst way.
I know.
Did you notice that? Because you said you were working as like an assistant, right? So when you did the Tonight Show, did you come out as a comedian to your coworker, or was that something where they treated you different?
I think I told people that I did it, but I didn't invite them to shows.
Yeah, no.
And then every
Right.
once in a while, somebody would show up at a show.
Yeah.
And I didn't like that. And I never really liked when people I knew came to a show because I always thought I was disappointing. But
Yeah.
I did a show the other night and I invited old and new friends. And then my therapist of 30 years showed up. She has
Wow.
never seen me live. And I'm like, do I have to
What?
pay her for the hour?
Wait, does the therapist not look up your material? Like, surely they do. Like,
Well,
background.
she's seen me on TV.
Yeah.
And I've gone to her for 30 years. So
Okay,
I
yeah.
like do a set each time.
What is that? That's incredible. I don't want to break any like personal barriers, but seeing the same therapist for 30 years.
On and off.
Okay, but but I mean, like,
Yeah.
that's a hardcore relationship. Are you
Yeah.
allowed to see it like that?
Well, I don't know that much about her. So it's like a very expensive friend that I know nothing about. But okay, this is my favorite story about her. So for years on and off, I talked about going to Camp Tri Woody. That was the name of my camp. My parents sent me to a camp called Tri Woody for 3 summers.
Where the hell was this?
It
This
was
is
in Hyde Park, New York.
Okay.
Okay. And now it's a convent.
Wow.
So, but there's like Facebook groups about Tri Woody. And so one time I looked up a friend of mine from Tri Woody and I reached out to him and he said, that's me, but I don't remember you. And that's like, my biggest things, like
Yeah.
not feeling remembered.
Yeah.
And then he goes, but you're my favorite comedian. Like he knew me as a comedian, but he didn't know me. He said, I always felt so connected to you. I'm like, because we were in fucking plays together.
Yeah, because we know each other.
Right.
Oh.
So anyway, so I had talked about Camp Tri-Woody with this therapist over the years. It wasn't like a seminal part of my childhood. Like it wasn't traumatic or anything. Just I was telling her stories.
Yeah.
So one day I go to her, did you ever go to camp? And she goes, do you want to know if I went to camp or do you want to talk about why you want to know if I went to camp?
Whoa.
And I'm
Wow.
like, because that's her answer to everything.
Ooh, that would get.
And I'm like, no, I really want to know if you went to camp. She goes, I went to Camp Tri-Woody.
what?
I know.
Y'all are, it's like staring in a mirror.
I know. And then, I mean, she's a little older than I am.
Oh,
and
okay.
so then like a couple of sessions later, I was talking about this other, like a summer school I went to called USDAM, which was for theater arts. And it wasn't a sleepaway thing. It was a day thing. And I go, don't tell me you went to USDAM. And she goes, I went to USDAM.
What the
Jesus, she's been
fuck?
stalking you?
She's
Yes.
stalking me.
She's your older sister?
Yeah. I'm like,
I know, really weird. So
do you have siblings?
I have one sister.
Uh-huh.
She's a therapist.
Oh, and
and
it's not
she's-
your therapist.
And it's not my therapist,
Uh-huh.
although she's very, very helpful.
Are you guys
Uh-huh.
close in age?
She's 2 years older,
Mm-hmm.
and she's married to the guy who's 14 years younger. than
Oh,
her.
great. Okay.
And she lives in San Francisco.
Mhm.
Nice.
What was your family's reaction to you starting stand-up? Or I didn't tell my family for like a year.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't tell anybody.
They still think I'm a third grade teacher living in Akron. No, I think they always just thought if it makes you happy.
Mhm.
So
And before you were going to like psychiatric degree and before all that, were you creative at all? Were you performing?
I
Were
was
you...
always in the plays.
You did all that.
Like I
okay.
was Eliza in My Fair Lady.
Yeah.
I could
Oh,
sing
great.
that, and it's before I smoked and ruined my voice.
I love a smoker
But-
sing. I love that. Did you know Eddie Vedder smokes?
Really?
Like to this day. Yeah. Isn't that? And see that I do that. I
Wow.
go, really? I sound excited.
Because
Oh.
his like trill or whatever you
Mhm.
call it is amazing.
Yeah, he smokes and
But he sounds a little.
Oh, I know, raspy, right?
Yeah.
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 but
Whatever
that-
is. It's like that goes way down.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
like if
Adele
Cher's balls
smoked.
dropped. What's that?
Adele smoked. I don't know
See,
if she
I love
still
that.
does.
That I love hearing that.
Yeah, and Ed Sheeran smoked, I read.
Yeah. Nina Simone smoked, but she fucking sounded
Oh,
like it.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I love that.
Oh.
There's an interview where she's lighting a cigarette while admitting that she shot a man.
Oh, I love
Really?
that.
It's so good. Yeah, it's great. It was a guy who she'd signed a bad contract and he didn't pay her or something. And so she tracked him into a restaurant and said, "Are you going to give me my money?" And he said no. So the interviewer goes, "You brought a knife and you stabbed him?" She goes, "It wasn't a knife, it was a gun." Like
Ah,
yeah, and then she takes the light. It's brilliant.
fantastic. Wait, can I want to just go back a little bit. So, Wendy, what did you say to the therapist who'd done all these same things that you had done?
Or
whatever
who'd
was in
lived your
those-
life.
I said, this is going to be a great story to tell on a podcast one day.
Well, did she tell you a little bit more about her experience there at those
I
places?
had asked her,
Oh, okay.
like, were we there at the same time? And we weren't. And she goes, she only went 1 year and she didn't remember it. And
Oh, okay.
so, yeah, so it was less important to her than it was to me.
Wendy did a really amazing thing, and actually we'll plug the organization to how you found your animals.
Oh,
your
yeah.
dogs, please.
So we had a dog named JJ. He was so cute. He was rescued from Beverly Hills. When we got him, he was wearing Crest White strips. He was the funniest. He was the funniest. He was like a Bichon poodle. We loved
my
him.
God.
But he died of old age. So
Okay.
then we waited a couple of years.
There were Twitter you do a JJ post, right? The
Yeah.
Daily JJ or
Today's
something.
Twitter. Yeah,
I
Yeah,
saw
I
that.
today's
remember
look at
JJ.
Mhm.
Are you on social media?
I am, but I don't keep up with it.
Oh, okay.
I have to ask Garrett even what my Twitter handle is. I think it's Laura Kightlinger Lives.
Yep.
Oh, thank you.
That's it.
Oh.
Yeah.
So my husband found that we were going to get a golden retriever, and Jeff found one on some website that looked like a golden retriever, but its personality is the opposite of a golden retriever.
Oh.
And it was a Jindo, which is a South Korean dog.
Uh-huh.
He was rescued from a meat market.
Ah.
And when we went, it was a her actually. When we went to get her, there were only 2 dogs, and the other was also a Jindo. And we were like, we cannot just take one of them. Because the
Yeah.
other one was like in Jeff's lap. And
Oh.
anyway, so they are a national treasure. but they're also a delicacy
Whoa.
in South Korea. And there's like a famous story about Jindos where one found its owner 1,000 miles away. Like
Wow.
they're really smart. And actually, the LA
And it was just going there to get its leg back.
Yeah, the LAPD tried to train them because they're really loyal and smart. And then once they got them into the field, all the Jindos ran away.
Oh.
So,
What?
yeah, so they're
Interesting.
not.
But it's
Can't
really-
be cap.
It's important to adopt them from there because they eat the dogs. Yeah.
Right, I know. So
Mhm.
I stopped eating meat when we got them because I smelled her. She smelled like steak. It
You
was
could understand
really
where the
weird.
delicacy.
I mean, she was on the barbecue. Yeah.
You didn't tell me that she was already dead.
Yeah, she was cooked. Yeah, she's so cute. So it's Gemma and Jackson, and they called him Jack because he came with a ball in his mouth, and he is never without like 6 tennis balls somewhere around him. And anyway,
Had you ever been vegetarian in your life before?
no,
Mhm.
I hadn't been. I still eat fish, which
I
I'm.
do
It's the
too.
thing.
I'm a pescatarian.
Yeah.
Was it cold turkey? No pun intended, but like
Yeah, it was.
You just.
I just stopped. It was like gross.
Mhm.
And then one day I was carrying a rotisserie chicken home. I was working at Rooster Tea Feathers
Okay.
in the San Francisco area.
Mhm.
And I remember walking with this chicken in a bag thinking I'm walking with a bird and I'm going to eat it. And I was like, I can't do that.
Wendy, thank you for being here with us in this heat. And it's so good to see you. My God.
This
Oh
is
my
a
God.
dream.
And
I
I'm
love
so
it.
glad you're here
Such
and
a
you didn't get
dream.
hit by a car or
I'm
anything.
so happy
I forgot
to
to
see you and to meet you.
In all this smoking talk, I forgot my gateway to you was my friend Andrea quoted your Miss, your smoke is bothering me. Well, it's killing me.
That's
Which
great.
is a universally
I
phenomenal.
changed it though.
What?
I've changed that joke. Yeah, the
What?
joke used to be, well, it's killing me.
Uh-huh.
Obviously. So now I say, the woman says, your cigarette, it's bothering me. And I'm thinking, obviously, I don't give a shit about me. Why would I care about you?
That's
Yes.
great.
So I
That's
feel
great.
like I've changed and my jokes have changed.
Yeah.
And,
That's so fun. I feel like over the years I've written maybe 3 jokes, but I've changed the tags and stuff.
oh my God. I always, from the beginning, I think you learn from the comedians that you start with. And I would listen to you, Jonathan Katz, Kevin Meaney, Brian Kiley. And I think you learn your comedy voice. So I always credit you as one of those voices that I hear.
Yes.
So,
See?
and you also have a great speaking voice. Like,
Bless
you
you.
should do
Yeah.
Thank you.
voiceovers.
I would
and
like to.
shit.
So you just recorded a special. Do we know when it comes out and all that
I
kind of
don't know
stuff?
when it comes out,
But it's gonna
and
be
I don't
called-
even know where it's going to come out. But it's called "It's Wendy."
Yes.
Yes, and we're not allowed to publicize it, but it's going to be hilarious.
Oh, yeah,
It's
right.
It's Wendy.
It's
Uh-huh,
Wendy.
yeah.
And
Yay.
I also wrote a one-woman play called "What to Wear to Therapy."
Nice.
A play in one session. So I don't know when that's coming out, but
Oh, cool.
and I'm not going to be in it because I'm not an actress. But somebody else is going to be in it.
Yes.
So.
Couldn't have been more excited to have you here.
Thank
This was
you.
so great.
Yeah,
Yay.
it's so good to see you.
Thanks.
Love you
And thank
both.
you.
Love you back.
In that Hollywood way.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Thanks, Wendy.
Yay.
Yay!
Thank you.
What
Thank
did
you,
we
thank you, thank
learn?
you.
I'm bisexual.
Yes.